Hey guys, I'm up here at the house I grew up in, my dad and I's trapper shack. We built this when I was 12 and fell in love with trapping and hunting and all that stuff. Needed a spot to store everything and do all of our outdoor hobbies. But anyway, yesterday on opening day, I shot myself this gun buck, public land. Are there bigger deer in the world? Of course. But I was thrilled with him based on all his comrades behind him that my dad has killed over the year. He's quite bigger. But anyways, what I'm going to be doing is use this as an opportunity to show you how I skin and quarter the deer, essentially utilize all of the animal. So I'll kind of go through that process. Got this deer processing kit from Kalkal with some various knives. I used a couple yesterday when I gutted it and got it out of the woods. So kind of show you the process of how that works. Hopefully it helps some of you who are maybe just getting into hunting if you want to know how to skin your deer. I personally have always done it hanging it from the antlers, starting from the neck down. I like that better than hanging it from the feet, because then the antlers are touching the ground, and this is what we've always done, but tomato, tomato, I suppose. All right, first and foremost, we're gonna get the legs off. Now I see a lot of people end up like getting a bone saw for the legs to cut these legs off. It's totally unnecessary. Just find that joint. Once you find that joint, should just be able to snap it off like so. These knives are really new and sharp, so I'm not thrilled about cutting against bone right now, but you got to do it a little bit. Cut those ligaments. You can essentially do the same for the back legs, although it's a little bit harder, and I wouldn't recommend using a knife that you're gonna cut into bone, because kind of messes it up a bit. But at that point, while I'm down here, I just do this right away. I'm gonna take a thinner knife and I'm gonna slice this up. That's gonna just make it easier when I eventually am coming down to get that. And I'll do the same thing on this side. There we go. Last night, while it was fresh, I already got the inner loins out of there. Make sure you always do that. That's one of the tenderest cuts of meat there is. Then I splash some water on the inside too to just rinse anything out. This chest spreader came with that Kalkal knife kit, which is kind of nice. I'm gonna do the same thing here on these legs. Just to get that ready. All right, so that's good to go. And then I'm gonna start skinning right up at the base of the neck. I might lower this guy down a little bit to do that. I can always lift him back up later. So this will make it easier to start here. I'm gonna go as far up as I can. There's a lot of meat on a whitetail buck's neck that oftentimes people waste, unfortunately. I would say this is the only downside of starting it from the neck, is you do end up getting a little more hair on the meat because you have to cut through that to begin. But instead of cutting it through this way, I'm going underneath the hide and pulling it this way, so I'm not actually cutting through the hair, if that makes sense. All right, got that done. Now I'm just gonna be working it down, peeling that back, and skinning it off. At this point I can get more of a rounder blade skinning knife. This is definitely the most tedious part of the whole process, when you're skinning them from the neck down. And it's probably the main advantage of people who do hang them from the legs, to when you get to this point, you're pulling it down and then just cutting the hide right at the end. But some people prefer it this way. I don't know, it's what I grew up doing, so I'm kind of just naturally continue that. Ooh, this guy was a fighter. He's got a little wound on him right here. And then just use pressure a lot anytime you can. Wrap that up, give her a good pull. You start pulling meat off like that. Just trim it back to get to the hide. And at this point, you don't really have to use the knife much. Hey, look, there's my entrance hole. Shot this buck at 26 yards. So a steep angle from the tree. So I put it a little higher than I probably wanted to. I'm curious to see where the exit hole is, though. I don't remember seeing an exit hole on this deer in the moment. Doing some knife work along the quarters, along the front legs here, will help. Once I get down here, I can just pull it then.
There's more bags with me.
Thanks. For the game. The Bears still suck. There we go. By cutting those forearms in advance, that allows me to just do that. And pull that down a lot easier. I watched a video once of a guy put a golf ball under with a rope, had the deer hanging, hooked it up to his truck, and drove away, and it was enough pressure to pull the entire hide off. It would be kind of fun to try it, but with my luck, something bad would happen. This would have been the time to try it, though, dang. A good kind of in between, you can, if you want a little extra pressure, Put the foot right here. And that does a pretty good job of working it down also. And you can see when it's just the tissue that the knife will be able to. And you'll see when it's ready for a pull. Like right here, this is gonna pull really easily. I'll step on that again. Look at that, all the way down. Not a ton of fat on this buck. He was probably rutting hard. It's November 24th today. At this point I can pull him up a little bit more. Give myself more room to work down here. There's the tail. At this point, I've got the tail right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna feel for, there we go. There's like a vertebrae there. You can cut right through that vertebrae. And now this is gonna pull down even more, all the way off. Oh, that's done. And that's done. So there you have it. Hanging a deer from the head. Some people don't really like it. I personally have always done it that way. It's what I'm comfortable with. The other advantage now, when I'm cutting it up, all this neck meat, when I'm trimming this neck meat off of the deer, look at it's at my eye level. Opposed to if you hang it from the legs, I've done it before, you're bending down to try to trim the neck meat off. And for the quarters, it's fine because I'm just gonna cut the ball and socket joint off and have it from that. So, and then take those quarters separately. So that's how I like to skin a deer, from hanging from the starting at the neck. Pretty quick process. Like I said, personal preference, and that's mine, I suppose. Not saying it's the right way to do it, but if you do it that way, that's how. And like I said, the benefits of it, besides from your antlers not dragging on the concrete and not needing a gambrel. See, like if you do it from the legs, you need like a gambrel like this. The other advantage is now when I'm trimming from the neck, boom, I've got all of this at my eye level here. Interesting, no exit hole that I'm seeing, which means I should find a bullet lodged in here somewhere. Will be interesting. Anyways, hope that video helps. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna have a part 2 to this video. I'll link it in the description now. The next step, trimming off the meat and everything, if you're interested in that part.